Hello and welcome to another video. So today what we're going to do is we are going to compare paintings that I've done throughout my art journey about the same animal. So I tend to sort of paint the same animals over and over again, and because I have been painting for a few years now, I feel like there's some improvement from, if I had to compare the first painting I did of an animal to the most recent one. So today we are going to put them side by side and we are going to compare and see how much better I got or didn't. In some cases you'll see that there's like no improvement, in other cases there is a bit of an improvement. So yeah, we are going to start with this sketchbook. I've made an entire video about this sketchbook alone, which is a really good video to go watch if you aren't familiar with any of the things I've done before. This was the first sketchbook I ever had, and I did watercolor in the sketchbook, but I had no art skills whatsoever. I had to teach myself, so none of the paintings in this book are any good, but I do get better. So we'll start here and then we'll work our way up through everything else. So the first category we'll do is, all right, so this is the first fish that I've ever painted. As you can see, it's not very good. I basically critiqued this entire sketchbook from front page to last page in my previous video, so you can check that out. But yeah, as we can see, this is not a very good fish. And was the first time trying, especially for someone who's never painted before. These are the two next fishes I've ever tried to paint. Obviously they aren't very good, but at least they look like fish. Yeah, not much can be said about this little page, but at least I'm trying. This is the last fish that I tried to paint in this sketchbook. As you can see, I struggle with transparency, especially the fins are supposed to be somewhat transparent or translucent, whatever you want to call it, and I do struggle with that, so hopefully that's something I can work on in future and get a better grip of how to do that. So that's the last fish in this book, but I think we will now go and compare all the ones before that and see how I improved, if at all. So this is the first fish that I tried to paint in this book. It's obviously not very well done. And I messed it up when I messed it up there somehow, and I tried to paint over it with white paint and then it just smudged, so this is not a very good painting at all. And this is the most recent painting of a fish that I've done. I say recent, but it has been 2 years since I made this one, so it's not exactly super recent. I've painted a lot more since having done this little fish, so hopefully if I had to try now it would look better. But yeah, this is actually my favorite fish painting that I've ever done. I know the fins probably suck the most out of all of them, but I do enjoy the way the colors sort of came together and how that looks, so quite happy with that. Yeah, so that brings us to a close with fish. So this was the first bird I ever painted. It's obviously not a very good bird. If you like, the little feet are terrible. That's not what it looks like. The flowers are terrible. The bird itself is terrible. But it was the first bird I ever tried. So directly after that is the second one. This one's a bit better, but it's a the feet are a bit improved, but it's still a very bad bird. So I do paint birds quite often, and I feel like there is a bit of an improvement. Here's another bird, a chickadee that I tried to do. This was a random bird I found on Pinterest, so I tried to recreate this bird from a live painting, or a picture, sorry. I tried to recreate it from a photograph. This was my first attempt at a raven, which completely failed. Yeah, I don't know how, at one point, like, I looked at this and I thought, yes, I'm done. This is the end. I'm not gonna keep working on it. Maybe I gave up. I don't remember what I was thinking at this time, but it's really bad. another bird. It's completely unrealistic. This bird will probably not be able to actually fly if, you know, birds had to actually look like that. It's another little bird. This is supposed to be just a common sparrow. Not very good. But I feel like this one is much improved from this one to some extent. I don't know, you tell me. A little patchy. Another common house sparrow. And this is the last bird for this book. So there's this bird, which is not a very good bird. Common house sparrow, which turned out really bad. And my first attempt at a blue jay, which is also not very good. This is a terrible blue jay. Now for all the birds in this little book, which I've also made a complete video on, so that's a really good video to go watch. It's my second attempt at a blue jay. I feel like it came out a bit better than the first, but it's still not super great. Two little birds, so a common house sparrow and a blue tit, which I actually really want to try painting again. I do like this bird. I feel like it's a very cute bird. I just need to get the proportions and the fluffiness and all of that right. A robin that I completely screwed up. Another common house sparrow. So that concludes this little booklet. And then I moved into my new sketchbook, which I'll show you now. So this is my next sketchbook. It's so much thicker than the first one, as you can tell. I haven't really done much in it yet, but I'll get around to it. And then on the first page, we'll see one of my favorite paintings I've ever done of a kingfisher. So just objectively, if we had to compare these two, I feel like there's a lot of improvement from this one, or from this one to this one. Actually, I really like the way this guy turned out. I would do a lot of things differently if I had to repaint it now, but I'm quite happy with it. So here we have another entire page of birds. So let me just read that to you. I watched the YouTube video titled Young Male Kestrel Meets His Match in Courtship and was inspired to paint some kestrels. So these, and then I wrote little notes next to each and every one, but let's just ignore that. I actually realized that I'm not one of those people that likes to write things around the drawing. So I tried to erase it, but a lot of it didn't come out properly. So I'm actually quite happy with this one. This one's also kind of cute, but it's not done well, so yeah, let's just ignore that. This is just a dove, and it's a hand, like, sort of cradling the dove, and the other hand was pulling, so the one hand was sort of like cradling the dove, and the other hand was pulling the wing up to catch a photo of it, but I can't draw hands, so there's just that for now. Here's some drawings that I ripped out of the sketchbook because I wasn't too happy with the way that my sketchbook was looking and I wanted to restart. So this was my second attempt at a raven, and I actually really kind of like it. There's some depth to it. I don't know if the camera's picking up on it really well. But it's got some dimension, it's got some depth, there's got some structure in there. So if we can compare this raven to the first one, I mean, there's definitely improvement there if we had to like make a direct comparison. So I'm actually quite happy with that. This little bird is cute. It's some sort of emperor something. I don't remember what the full name is. Another little bird. I don't think it came out too bad, but what I did was after I finished it, I outlined it with pencil again. So I painted it and then it was lacking something, so I went and outlined it with pencil, and that's why it looks a little weird now. I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I just kept it as is. But yeah, I think it's kind of cute. And there we have a little swallow, which I did the same thing with, the same pencil outline thing. so it sucks. It looked so much better before. But yeah. Okay, that concludes my little ripped out section. This is the most recent bird I painted. And it's actually a step back. Before I painted this painting, I hadn't painted for 5 months. So this was sort of my it was supposed to be the first sketch painting, whatever you want to call it, back. So it's not very good. I was like, you get rusty as an artist if you don't paint often. And it's very evident and very clear in this painting because there's so many mistakes on it. But at least one thing I can say is, anatomically speaking, it's somewhat in proportion. The feet, it's not picking up well on camera, but the feet I feel like are anatomically quite accurate, and the face isn't too bad. I enjoy this eye so much. I think this eye is one of the better eyes I've done on a bird. But yeah, this was the first painting I'd done in 5 months, so it is what it is, but it's the most recent bird painting I've done. So let's just compare the first and the last one. First bird painting versus most recent painting. Yeah, I feel like there's definitely improvement there, but not too much. I think there's like 4 years difference between these two, so I should definitely be much further along in my art journey than I am. Art is not something that comes easy to me. It's something I have to actively practice in. So it could be so much better, but I am what I am. So nothing I can do about that. This is the first deer I've ever tried to do. It's so terrible. It's so terrible. I feel like the only thing I like about it is that it's the first one, so it's just the first of many, and that's what makes it special. But other than that, it's really terrible. The eye is lifeless and dead. The muzzle is terrible. The nose is terrible. The antlers are not really too bad, but they are out of proportion. They're too small for the size of the actual deer. So it's just terrible all around. This is a fawn I tried to do. It's equally as terrible. And the only thing I like about it is, I don't know, it sort of makes me think of Bambi, but in a really bad way, like Bambi's stepbrother or something. But it's really bad. So yeah. I actually tried to do doe, like deers and does and bucks in general. So, I mean, I think these are the only two in this sketchbook, but I've tried them a few more times, so let's see what they look like. This was my next fawn. So many people have painted this one, and I'm actually going to repaint it just to see how I would improve the same painting again. The only thing I don't like about it is I had to stretch the reference picture over 2 pages. So I feel like his body is a little bit more elongated than it needs to be. It's a bit longer than the reference picture, but other than that, I think there is a bit of improvement there. The legs look better. At least the front legs look somewhat better. The hooves look a little better. The coloring overall is a bit better. But yeah, this is a Steenbok, which you can Google. It's also in the gazelle family. So it's better than the first one I've done. And they do have really, really tiny horns, so that's anatomically correct. The eye, I feel like, is getting a little bit better as well. I feel like this eye is not so lifeless, not so dead-eyed. So I'm a bit proud of that little bit of improvement there. And then we take a step back again. So this little fawn is terrible. This one is not too bad. I feel like, proportionally speaking, it's a bit out of proportion and a bit unbalanced, but again, I'm quite proud of those eyes. They are starting to look less lifeless. I don't like the muzzle on either of these. The antlers, I feel like, came out really well. And after this one, I went through a bit of an antler phase. So I did quite a few buck-related or, goat-related things, antler-related animals. So let's go through that quickly. This was the next big phase that I did. Let's go through them individually. The mountain goat I've spoken about in a previous video. what I like about him is the horns, definitely, and the ears. I really like the way that this part of the little painting came out, basically that top half. Really like it. Everything below that sucks. This deer is not too great either. It's not good by any measure. This little guy I really like. It was difficult because I had to do a bird and a you know, like an, I don't know what type of buck this is, but I really like the way this one came out, sorry. Really like it. And there was this little guy. It's a mountain goat, and he's supposed to look like he's rock climbing or whatever. Not too upset with it, but it's not very good either. I feel like it's a bit over-rendered and overdone. Okay, so now we are moving into my most recent attempts, my most recent sketchbook. The paper in this sketchbook is stone paper, so it reacts very weird to sort of pencils, and it's very, I don't know how, you have to really feel it to feel the texture, to know what I mean, but it's very smooth, and it's got no grip, so paint doesn't really like to sit on it. It sort of moves around a lot. Maybe there's more information on the back about the type of paper. Yeah, so it's stone paper. I don't know if any of you have ever used stone paper, but it's exceptionally smooth and soft. That is true. That is so true. So paint doesn't really like to sit on it, which means you have to do several layers before it really takes. But anyway, okay, so this is in the buck family. It's an okapi. You can Google that. I think they're mostly found in Africa. An okapi is, I mean, it looks like a zebra, but it's a buck. So different family altogether. Okay, and here's my most recent deer. Yeah, he was supposed to look like a forest king. I don't feel like this one came out well at all. I wasn't happy when I finished it. I'm still not happy with it. I feel like what's wrong with it is all the face. Maybe the rest isn't too bad, but that face sort of distracts me from it. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. Regardless, I think this is probably a good point where we can... I did this 3 days ago, so it's a very recent painting. And if we had to compare this sort of deer-related animal to this one, there's a clear improvement there. Yeah, I think there's a very clear improvement there, so quite happy with this one. Not happy with this one, but I'm happy with this one. So very happy with the improvement from here to there. Okay, now our next category. I've done a few different types of foxes. I've done just a normal red fox, and I've also done the African equivalent, which is the fennec fox, which like you find in the desert. So this was the first fox I've ever done. It's obviously quite terrible, but it was the first one. So this is the only red fox in this sketchbook that I've done. So let's just keep it there. Then I moved on to fennec foxes. I don't know how to say that. It's spelled F-E-N-N-E-C. So I'm not sure how to spell that, but yeah. This was the first one I did. So I'm actually still quite happy with it. I feel like there's a child storybook quality to this. I really like it. And I painted this one again a few years later. So the exact same reference picture. Two very different results. I don't know which one is better, actually. I feel like this one is very stylized, sort of storybookish, and this one I'm still trying to find my way, still trying to find a style. But I do like the eye. The eye I feel like is very realistic. I feel like that's what an animal's eye actually looks like. The brushwork is quite all over the place in this one, and I did struggle to sort of emphasize how fuzzy it is. I feel like this one I don't know which one's better, but yeah. There's another one, just a different angle, different photo altogether. And the last one, also quite like this eye. The muzzle, I think, is very accurate. The ears are not too bad. It's just I'm not a good artist at this point, so yeah. But that's where it started. And that was my most recent red fox painting. So many people have done this one, and I'm going to do it again to improve on it. But I feel like this one is probably the clearest indication of some improvement somewhere. I have all of them in one picture. Okay, for the next one, I only have 2 paintings to compare and contrast with each other, and that's an African painted wild dog. So, it's just called an African wild dog, but some people refer to it as a painted dog. So I've done the same reference picture twice. So here was my first attempt. Obviously it's not very good. The eyes are bad. The ears are actually quite okay. I'm happy with the ears. Coloring's bad. Muzzle's bad. And here's my most recent version of the same reference picture. So I feel like obviously there's a huge improvement there. Yeah, I actually really love this painting. Still struggle with muzzles, I'm realizing, but the hair and the brushwork and the color mixing and all of that, the shadowing, I feel like this is a lot better than this. And it's the same reference picture, so I have no idea how I managed to screw this one up so badly and get this one from the same reference picture. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Originally, I tried to do this with alcohol markers, and then it came out so terrible, so I painted over it. But you can't even see any of the marker behind it, so that's fine. You can only sort of see a hint of it around that ear. But I'm really happy with how this turned out, to be quite honest. Okay, so the next category is actually going to be my dog, because I've painted my dog quite a few times. This was my first attempt at painting my dog. It looks like her. This was my second attempt. My third attempt. This one's the worst one out of the 3. Okay. I then painted her again in this little sketchbook I have. And again. And then most recently in my newest sketchbook. This was on the back. This was on the back of the wild dog painting, which I tried to do with alcohol markers, so there's a lot of bleed through. But anyway, yeah. And I haven't gotten around to filling these in quite yet. I still need to paint these, but... And then I tried to do a little pen sketch, because I actually quite suck at pen sketches, but I tried, and I don't think it came out too bad, but it was my first attempt at pen sketching, so... Yeah. This one came out a bit too dark. That one's fine. And yeah, here's my dog painted in different stages of my art journey. And then just as a bonus for the final comparison, it's this dog, which I painted twice. It's the same reference picture. Same reference picture. 2 very different results. They don't even look like the same dog. This one looks more sort of golden retriever-ish, and that one looks completely different. I don't know. Same reference picture though, so yeah. So if we had to compare my first ever dog painting, that's not my dog specifically, it would be in this book. First ever dog painting. Don't ask me where the other eye or the other ear is. I don't know. But this is the first ever dog painting I did. This was the second. And this was the most recent. And this was the most recent. It's a Rottweiler, and I actually love it. This is probably my favorite painting of anything that I've ever done. I love this so much. I'm really happy with how this one turned out. So just to compare sort of my most recent dog to my first dog ever. Let's go find it. Most recent dog to first dog. Snake. Okay. To my most recent. It's sort of nutting on itself. I like this one because the shading actually sort of manages to look like it's folding over itself. Like it's, you know, folding over itself somehow, but it's not very good. It's just this snake is a much better snake than this snake. And I will revisit snakes again in the future. But yeah, that's actually it for the video now. I need to get to painting and do more things so that I can do more comparisons. But yeah, I'm sort of taking this as my motivation to keep going and keep trying. Because the more paintings I do, the more I can compare them for you guys. So thanks for watching, and yeah, thanks guys.